Hi, my name is Josh. I'm a Christian, like born again believer in Jesus Christ, and believe that He died for my sins and washed me new so that I can have a relationship with God the Father, and totally bankrupt for Him. I'm a follower of God, not just a believer in God. Basically, my story, I grew up in a Christian family, a Christian home in Colorado. My brother got saved when I was like 8, and I guess had kind of a pretty basic understanding of salvation, but I did have an understanding of it, and my brother grasped that about the same time, and I had a realization that I was the last one in the family that was basically going to hell, and so I gave my life to Christ and asked Him into my heart there. That same day, I was like 8, and my dad prayed with me and explained to me that I was a sinner and that I needed Christ, and I understood that, and I asked Him to come in to my heart and to be the Lord of my life, and to wash me new, and basically take my life. And from then, it's been a pretty shaky story. It's been kind of like a bit of a roller coaster. I was extremely on fire for God at that point in my life when I was obviously pretty young, and we lived in Tabernash, Colorado, and it's that place stays about 5 degrees colder than Fraser, Colorado, which is the icebox of the nation, known to be the coldest town in the United States of America on any given day. And it was in the winter when I had got saved, and my sister Katie, which is the next kid above me, she was also really on fire, and there was her and me and Caleb, my brother, that got saved the same day I did. We were going to church in Hot Sulphur Springs, and they made an announcement that if somebody wanted a Bible, they had a big stack of old Bibles downstairs in the church, and that they were going to throw them away. And I think that hit all of us kind of the same way, like, can't believe you're going to throw away a Bible and whatever. So we took all of them, and we loaded them up on a sled, and walked around. Tabernash was a very, very small town then, all spread out, I guess, but not much of a town. But we took and loaded up those Bibles on a sled, and walked around and handed them out in that town. Knocked on all 40 doors that were in Tabernash at the time, and Mrs. Pacheco took one, really nice old lady. But I guess I kind of faded out for a while after that. Got really stagnant, and really let myself kind of fall away from that. And then growing up, got really interested in other things and started rodeoing, and got really focused on that. And basically my whole life has been like that, really, really focused on Christ and Christ-centered, and then kind of get comfortable, and then start getting stagnant, and then fading away and going basically the opposite direction for a while. And then God gets a hold of me, and sometimes usually not in very easy ways, because I'm kind of thick-headed. Let's see, in high school, I got into a little bit of trouble. I didn't really get caught doing a lot of stuff, but got really self-centered and started partying a few times. Got the crap beat out of me, and I think it was right about that time that I kind of I was like really seeking basically any kind of trouble I could find, because I wanted to be like normal, or basically be anything except for what I was, which was a homeschool Christian sheltered whatever good kid, and I wanted to be a bad kid. And I don't know, I just wanted to be something different. But so I got to drinking as much as I could. Really got lucky I didn't get into some worse things, but I got kind of sort of my act together and started praying and reading a little bit, not really super detailed, but got into the word a little bit and started working out and really getting serious about rodeo, and was pursuing that and working out and working hard every day. And went to college in Oklahoma, and was pretty strong in my faith at that point, especially because I would always heard the horror stories about how people go to college a Christian and come back basically with no faith, and so I was kind of like pretty prepared, I thought, and I wanted to meet people, and where I was, like, rodeo is a big deal there, and so I was going to all the parties basically to meet people, and I'd drink a beer, and then I was like, oh, I'll have a couple, and then pretty soon I was in it, man. Basically the longer I stayed sober, the worse. And my whole freshman year pretty much turned into that, and didn't even realize it. Like, it was no big deal, like drinking a beer, it's like no big deal. And then I just slowly kept progressing into more about myself and having fun. I think it was the first semester of my sophomore year. We had a fundraiser for our rodeo team, and I had like a beer there, and then I had bought, or maybe I went halfers on a handle of Pendleton, and had a little bit out of the bottle of that, and then drove back to town. It was like 10 miles away, and long story short, got pulled over, did a roadside test and got arrested, and basically I was sitting in jail, and I was like, man, this is kind of crappy, because that bottle of whiskey that I just went halfers on, there's a whole lot of people that are enjoying that and having fun and drinking my whiskey right now. I can't wait till I get out so I can go drink the rest of my whiskey. And when I got arrested on a Saturday night, and in Texas County in Oklahoma, they're basically closed up Sunday, so I couldn't get bailed out on Sunday, and didn't really want to call anybody anyway, and I was just like kind of not real worried about it. And anyway, Sunday I was walking around, and it was Super Bowl Sunday, and but I'm walking around, and there's this and it was in a cell block C, and there's like an upstairs and a downstairs to it, just a big room with some concrete tables, and then a crap load of bunk beds, and a bathroom with no door, which was kind of a little bit gross. But there was this old Mexican man, and there was all kinds of people in there too, man, that hated each other, but there's this old Mexican man, and he was sitting at a table, one of those tables, those picnic tables, and he was reading the Bible. And I was walking around, kind of did some jumping jacks and stuff, and went a little bit crazy because you can't see the sun. But finally went over to him, and I was like, I think I asked him if he spoke English first, and he's like kind of nodded. And I was like, well, what are you reading? And he was like, I'm reading Proverbs. I was like, oh, that's good. That's a good book. And I sat down with him, and he's like, yeah, it says here this and that. And I was like, oh, that's good. And he's like, he didn't even ask me if I knew God. He basically told me I needed God, and looked at me, and he was like, how old are you? And I told him 19, and he was like, you look like you're 28 or 29 years old. He's like, you've got stress, and your face is starting to sink. He's like, you're getting caught up, you're drinking, I don't know if you're doing drugs. And I was like, who are you, old man? Kind of like whatever. And then he tried to lead me to Christ, and that man picked up a Bible when he got in jail, maybe like a couple months before that, and had a better understanding of my God than I did, and was trying to lead me to him, and that kind of like broke me a little bit. And so then when I got out of jail, partially because I was on probation, I didn't drink anymore. I decided I was not gonna drink at all anymore. And I had a lot of friends at that time, or what I thought were friends. And pretty much every time it was time to go drink, which was every day, I didn't go. And so I just kind of went in my room, and I started reading my Bible, and then I started working out, and then I started to, because basically I was sitting by myself, bored as crap, because all my friends are gone, and then they even like turned against me really, and so I started working out to fill my time, and then I started reading, and then I started praying, and it strengthened my faith so much to the point that I had never been at in my life. And I'd give God little stuff, and he would bless me like crazy. And I didn't drive a vehicle for a year, and was able to get everywhere I needed to. Got home for holidays, got to rodeos, got to work a lot of times. I guess I did drive to work, but God blessed me like so crazy I can't even tell you. And then every time I gave him something, he'd give me back tenfold. And so I finally was like, God, okay, you can take all of me. For the first time in my life, I was like, if you want, you can even have riding bulls. You can have rodeo. First time in my life, I was like, you can literally have everything. And so whenever I did that, I was like, just show me. If you want me in Africa tomorrow, show me. I'll go. You do it. I'm wherever you want me, God. Finally, I actually did that and meant it in my heart. And the next day, I tried out a Brazilian bull rope for the first time at practice, and it was a bad little plumber bull. He was out really far and then turned back into my hand, and I surprised myself because he hit a corner really hard, and it was like I blinked and he was still right underneath me, and I just started making rounds on him, and it was really, really fun. And but I couldn't figure out which way to get off after that, because Brazilian rope is backwards, so you get off away from your hand. But I couldn't figure out which way to get off, and so I hesitated, and then I finally stepped off away from my hand and landed on my feet, good, clean, everything. And then that bull kind of turned around and was coming to me, and I had my right foot pretty deep in the sand, and I just kind of twisted and rolled out of the way, and when I did, it blew out my knee, my ACL, or I don't know, whatever, which one over it was, it blew it out. And so to me, I was like, all right, well, I guess that's your sign. Show me where you want me, and I'm there. Like, let's go. Like, I'll pack. Let's do it. And had a college rodeo that weekend in Manhattan, Kansas, at K-State, and I went and asked the sports medicine guys to tape up my knee or show me what to do or whatever, and they looked at it and they're like, well, you definitely tore your whatever CL ligament. And I was like, okay. And they're like, well, here's a note, you're excused, you don't have to ride, and you don't have to pay your fees. And I was like, well, I'm gonna go ride my bareback horse. I was taping my arm while I was in there. I was like, I'm gonna ride my bareback horse, and we'll see what happens after that. And rode my bareback horse pretty well. Couldn't really move my right leg very good, but it kind of, I was able to have my toe out, so it looked okay. But right at the whistle, horse kind of stretched me out and popped my bind, and then I shot over his head and landed on the bucking chutes. Luckily, they weren't bucking anything out of the right-hand delivery chutes, and there was a bunch of guys standing on them, so they kind of caught me, or that horse would have squished me. But it was really fun. My saddle bronc horse, I got on Black Bart of Del Halls, and I missed him out, and then couldn't bend my knee to spur him, and I fell off of him, and he's just a hopper. But and then in the bull riding, I had to crawl down in head first because my knee had swollen up pretty bad, and so I had to crawl down in the bucking chutes head first. And I had a little bitty 2 or 3 year old bull, that was really mad and hot and mean and jumping around in there trying to roll, and he was kind of squishing me a little bit, and it was the most peace I'd ever had since like probably 8th or 9th grade in the buck and shoot. Just I can't even describe it, but I was like, I knew I was supposed to be there, and it didn't matter if I bucked off or rode or whatever. I was talking to God the whole time, and it was just fun, like just pure fun. And I was like, all right. So little calf jumped out of there and turned back real flat, and I rode him for like 60 points or 65 or something. So it was like, well, okay, I guess that's the last bull of my life. If that's what you're calling me, that's good. That's awesome. Like, what do you have next? And then that made the short round in the 10th round, or in the 10th hole, and I got in the short round. I drew this gray bull that was pretty tough to ride. He bucked Joe Frost off in the long round, and it's the same deal. I climbed down in on him and had to go in head first, and was just same thing, just total peace like I never had before. And I was like, all right, God, whatever you have here, that's what I want. If I die right here, like, so be it. Whatever is gonna happen, your will be done, kind of a deal. And it was a right hand delivery, and he jumped out of there and then followed the gate around to the left, and then jumped out, went to the right, and then back to the left again. And both times when he went left, my foot came out, and it looked like I spurred the crap out of that bull, but really I just couldn't hold my leg in him, and was like 84 points, and there was only 2 rides in the short go, so I won the rodeo and won the short go and the average, and it was amazing. Like, and landed kind of on my good leg, and was able to hop to the fence before, and he was a mean hooking son of a gun, and got to the fence, and it was like, wow, like I didn't even ride that bull, pretty much God did, and it was really exciting, and he blessed me with a lot of things, and what I did was I started really focusing on the things that he blessed me with instead of focusing on him. I started focusing on what he gave me, and that was really retarded, because it caused me a lot of hurt, and it caused a lot of other people, caused a lot of other people a lot of hurt too. And so I got more focused on what he blessed me with than with him, and then when I lost those things, because I had a lot of faith in the things that he blessed me with, and I lost pretty much all of those things the same month or two. And so I basically crawled into a bottle and turned into a whore again, and I chased anything. I basically cursed God, and I wanted nothing to do with him, because if he would let all of those things fall out of my life and let me feel that much hurt and deceive me like that, I wanted nothing to do with a God that was like that. And really, it was me walking away from him the whole time. He was seeking fellowship with me the whole time. And it took me a long time. It took me there was a solid year, maybe 2 even, that I was really didn't like being sober. And then I went to school in Texas, and got around some good people again, and then went to men's advance in South Dakota. And they had a deal called the Lion Games, and I don't know, it was a crazy little deal, but basically you build a big cross out of pine logs, and most of them were still sappy and they were really heavy, and then you staple a sheet to it, and you write something on that sheet that whatever you want to give God, or that God took from you, or something like that. And so we did that, and then you put it on the ground, and you cut it up with an axe, and like 40 times or 39 times, you stick an axe in it, and then carry it up this hill, and set it up, nail it to a post so it's standing up, and it was like a race kind of a deal. And then there's a bag of grape juice inside a bandana up on it, and to end the race you stab that bag with a spear. And this was in like the last part of February or something, so there's a lot of snow on the ground, but the whole time it was kind of like I was really like intensified and like competitive and really wanted to win that race. So we were really moving, and you're kind of like, as you're cutting up that, and then paintball, you get paintball too. That was kind of fun, and it really welted up some people's backs. Even a few people bled and stuff, but the whole time I was kind of wanting to win, and so I was really like amped up and stuff. And then at the very end, when they stabbed that bag with the spear, and that blood, whatever, grape juice simulation of the blood, that blood went all over that sheet, that perfectly white sheet, and then all over the snow on the ground, and completely just splattered everywhere, and it covered all that sheet. And I don't even remember what I wrote on there. But it covered that, and it hit me like if you just swung a bat and smoked me with it. It hit me right then, and I hit my knees. And I guess at that second I realized because of a visual experience of what Christ actually did for me, and it made me realize that all of the things that I'd done in my life since I accepted him into my heart, I'm the one that put him on that cross, and I'm the one that whipped his back, and I'm the one that hammered thorns into his head, and I'm the one that stabbed him. Like I killed my Lord Jesus Christ, and all the things that I've been doing the last years, I drug him with me all the way through. Every time I was drunk, every time I was sleeping with somebody or smoking weed or whatever, anything I did, God never left me, and I accepted Christ in me, and he stayed with me the whole time. And it was really a come to Jesus moment, I guess. But I decided then that I was going to serve God, and that was a year ago, I guess. Not quite a year ago. And but I won't go back. I've learned a lot of things since then, and I won't go back. I realize what Christ did for me, and I'm not gonna keep putting nails in him. I'm gonna serve God with the rest of my life, and I've committed myself to God, and I'm gonna pursue God with all of my heart for the rest of my life. And I guess that's kind of my testimony. So there's that.